Hi all, Ross here, Thomas Classic and Modern. Welcome back to the channel. Something a little different today. We've taken a little break in our series of Project Tom, but I just thought I'd do a quick little update video of what we've got going on in general in the engine building shop at the minute. But first, before I get into that, I have to say a massive thank you to everybody who's following the channel and subscribed thus far. We've received an email this morning to say that we've just hit our first target of 500 subscribers. So thank you very, very much for all of you people out there who have hit that notification bell, that subscribe button. It makes a world of difference to us. As I've said before, we're still thoroughly enjoying doing the videos. We're doing them as and when we can. We don't want things to get too repetitive for you. We're really enjoying reading the comments and taking on board some of your feedback. Some of you have given some great ideas for videos for us to do in the future. We've made a note of them. We will get on with those as well. So once again, thank you very, very much. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe. Please do. Makes a massive difference to us. Not monetized at all, this channel. Whether it will be in the future, I don't know, but that's not really what this channel was ever about. It was more about us showing you what we do and some of the things to be aware of when you're working on your classic Mini. Which brings me nicely to an issue that we have uncovered on an engine build that customer has dropped off. We don't know the full story. We believe the customer built this engine himself, but he has spent a lot of money on machining, quality parts, etc., etc. But unfortunately, I think it's a case of things are not all singing off the same hymn sheet. So we've had this dropped off for a full strip and inspect. So what have we found with this little beauty? This is actually, this has been running, obviously. It's been tuned, rolling road tuned. This is running the Specialist Components forced induction kit with I believe, a VMAX SCART supercharger. However, customer's never been overly happy with it. Various issues, oil pressure issues, oil leak issues, noises, etc. So he's sort of taken the opportunity to get it out. He's dropped it to us for a full strip and inspect. We have stripped it, and some of the things that we have found are, this is the block, obviously. We had massive trouble getting the head studs out. Some of the head studs were Loctited in, ARP head studs. Some of the head studs had they've all got, should I say, sorry, a little Allen key slot in the top for just winding them in. 3 or 4 of those Allen key slots were all rounded up, cheesed up, so they'd obviously been dogged up dead tight in the block. Usual thing, they weren't all sat fully flush in the block either, but the water pump end one, we could not get the stud out for love nor money. And the reason being is this hole, whether you can see that and make that out, I don't know, but this hole is not actually round, it's oval shaped. And obviously the thread had just been forced in there and it was locked in there. But we did eventually manage to get that out. All of that is obviously going to need addressing. However, the issues unfortunately don't stop there. This engine itself obviously runs a mix of metric fixings because it's an MPI block and UNF and UNC. We've unfortunately uncovered lots of metric bolts in UNC holes, UNC bolts in UNF holes. We've got a snap fixing here, which looks like it's been done a while, and it's obviously been painted over. So there's lots of anomalies that need to be put right if we're going to go ahead and try and salvage this block. The block has been modified for 5/16 UNF retaining studs to gearbox. Unfortunately, Allen bolts were used, and again, some of those were all cheesed up and rounded off, etc. So we had a hell's own job to get this off the box. When we get into some of the issues, whether you can see that in there, that is the state of our front cam bearing. It is fitted correctly, which is great. Unfortunately, it's not lined up the best, if I'm honest. It could do with rotating a few degrees clockwise to uncover that oil hole there fully. There we go, that's a better view of that. So you see that oil feed hole there is partially covered. If we then spin the block around, you will see I've written a 10 on there, and the number 10 on there indicates how many thread repairs need to be done to this block, including the 2 oil pump threads. They are mullered, is the best way to describe that. But you will also see that the edges of all of these threads have sort of pulled out and bits of the casting have broken away. So that in itself means that there are 10 thread repairs to do to that end of that block alone. They will have to be repaired using time certs, because obviously the time cert insert has a top hat, which means we can repair this out of damage. Whether it's cost effective or not is debatable at the moment, only because we have other issues to contend with the block as well. This may turn out to be that we supply a replacement block for this. Luckily, they are relatively plentiful. And I think by the time you put 10 inserts in here, it's going to be a couple of hours labour. The inserts are sort of £7.50, £8.50 each nowadays. So you can see that's quickly going to add up to a couple of £100 to just repair these threads in this end of the block. And then obviously we're going to have to do the others that we find. Regarding the bores themselves, this was running Omega forced induction pistons, and we have a lot of scuffing, shiny spots, tight spots, all sorts in the bore. Every single one of them the same, front and rear of the bore. And this one over here we have a scuff right the way up and down. So this one is going to need a rebore. It's going to need a set of pistons. It's going to need, obviously, a lot of remedial work to the block alone. This is the main bearing that we took out of the rear. This is the worst one, and I don't know whether you can make that out in the video. If not, I might add in a still, but there is a heavy score cut right the way down the center of that bearing, which indicates to me that something has come through the main oil feed gallery, because that is right in line with that in the block, on the crank, and obviously it's scored, and I can put my nail in there quite comfortably. It is deep. Moving on, some of you may have seen my post on our Facebook page. If you haven't, please do have a look at that and follow that. We do put, obviously, a lot of stuff on the Facebook page that we don't put on the video channel for obvious reasons. Facebook is a little bit quicker and easier. This is the clutch and flywheel assembly that came off this engine. It has been bought as a assembly, we believe, and obviously just assembled onto the engine. Unfortunately, these bolts are completely wrong. They are the wrong grade and they are too tall. So this is what is usually fitted. Hopefully you can make those out on there. They are the standard bolts, stamped 10.9 high tensile. Ignore the number, that is because this is out of a fully balanced clutch assembly. very thin washers, and as you can see, very low profile heads. They are standard fare for these Verto clutch assemblies. Obviously, whoever's built this has seen it fit to not only replace the heads, the bolts of the wrong grade, but you may be able to make out there how much of a difference there actually is in thickness of the bolt head itself. And there is a reason for that. Obviously, the tensile strength is because this is a clutch and a flywheel assembly. So I would want it held together with high tensile bolts. However, the height issue is what causes this. So this is the flywheel, the WOC, the clutch housing cover off this engine. And as you can see, that flywheel has machined itself a lovely clearance groove right the way around it where it's been touching. All the way around. And again, that is deep. So that is another issue we've uncovered. So please just be aware when you're buying things, sort of pre-assembled kits, etc., just have in your mind that you still need to check things. You still need to check clearances. You still need to make sure that fixings that have been used are of the correct grade, correct type. It is not a case of buying things at all, fit and forget. Just cannot do it. So, unfortunately, in this application, this clutch and flywheel assembly is absolutely nowhere near man enough for this build anyway. This is a standard clutch assembly. We've not stripped it, we've not bothered. It's got a nice steel flywheel. We can reuse that, that's absolutely no issue at all. But we will probably, if we go ahead with this and return it to its boosted application, which I'm sure we will probably end up using what's called an RTS clutch assembly on here, twin spring clutch, which we get done for us by a chap called Elliot Stringer. Massive shout out to him. We've had a couple of the RTS clutches off him now. Great product, and we get them fully balanced by AC Dodd as well. So they are generally fit and forget. So that is what we'll probably end up doing with this. So that takes care of the block and the WOC. Obviously, there's been numerous other maladies we found. We had an interesting one when we come to remove the crank bolt. Again, you know, money being spent, it's a uprated crank bolt. But for some reason, it had a lock washer fitted to it, which doesn't do anything. Doesn't lock into anything, nothing at all, because the pulley, aluminium pulley, which incidentally we had to pull off with a three-legged puller, it was that tight on the crank. Obviously has no provision for a lock tab. So really, a little bit pointless that was. The cylinder head is heavily modified for forced induction use. We will obviously have to get that refurbished, but you can probably notice it is black. So that has clearly been running far too rich, which obviously won't have helped with the bore wash situation that we've got, causing the scuffing on the bores, the shininess. We haven't actually stripped the gearboxes yet. It's running a 4-pin diff, we can see that, that's no problem. Not sure what diff ratio it's running. It looks to me as if it's running the original 276 Sports Pack diff. But, you know, we'll get into stripping that. However, the first thing that we noticed when we stripped it is, hopefully you can pick that up in the video, the massive idler gear wear that's in that casing. Now that is huge. That is probably best part of 20 thou of idler gear wear there. that's been set either far too tight and worn that away, or far too loose, and obviously the gear's been smashing back and forth in there, one way or the other. Could even, could have caused catastrophic damage, that. But gearbox assembly we're not overly worried about. So that just gives you a rough idea of some of the things that we find. Yes, this one is particularly bad. They're not all like it. We do end up seeing an awful lot of engines for strip and rebuild, as you can imagine. And it is sometimes interesting to see things like this where you just think it's such a shame, because there's such potential clearly in this build. Lots of nice parts and so on and so forth. That the care and attention can make all the difference at the end of it. And obviously, you take the right care and attention, you get the inherent reliability with your build. This can be rescued. I'm sure we will rescue it for the customer. Which way round we swing, I don't know, but I will keep you up to date and let you know. What I shall now do is just give you a quick update of some of the builds. That's a little bit of a strip. Some of the builds that we're getting on with. So over here we have our next two builds on our stands. We've got the red one here, which is a 1340 build, 72.5mm pistons, not plus 60. Plus 60 does not make 1340. So this one is clean for painting. Already been painted by Kirsty. Lovely red on this one. This now needs its final clean for building. That's what that's waiting for. And this one here, the black one, is a supercharged build that we're doing for a customer. This is 1310. And again, this is now sat here waiting for its final clean for building. Both painted, ready to go. All machining work's done. Over here we have the corresponding heads for them. This is the head for the supercharged build. This is a VMAX SCART head. Customer supplied this along with the VMAX SCART kit. We're responsible for building it all up and making sure it's all singing the right tune. And this is one of Keith Calver's Super Sports heads, which is going on to the red one. This will see a little bit of hill climb, sprint, and track day action by the looks of it. So that's going to be a very nice build when that comes together. Over here we have just some of the parts laid out that go into a build. As you can see, this is the supercharger for the supercharged build. Customer supplied this as part of a kit. We have now modified things so that we haven't got to use the decompression plate, which was supplied originally as part of the kit. So this will now go together without that, which we prefer to do if we can in a boosted application. One head gasket, in my opinion, always better than two. We have nicely modified crankshaft, balanced rods, ARP rod bolts. This is also going to be running full straight cut gearbox, straight cut drops, an ATB torque biasing diff, lots of DSN classic parts, mini spares straight cut gears, all the relevant bits and pieces that need to go into building that together. We've had the distributor recurved by our good friend AC Dodd. So as it just dawned on me then when we were running you through our supercharged build that we're about to get well on with, and I mentioned it previously, I thought I'd take the opportunity to show you the RTS twin spring clutch. And this is it. This is a massive upgrade, is the easiest way to describe it. You might be able to make out that figure there. That is 260 pound-foot of grip from this clutch assembly. That is ample, massively overkill for anything that you are likely to do. What it means is that this is not working to its limit. If you get things working right on the limit, they won't last long. this should give good longevity, plenty of grip, and it won't actually give a massively over heavy pedal like the sort of double grey diaphragms and that sort of thing, which means, again, because it's a Verto assembly, it's much kinder to the thrust washers in the crank. So this is the RTS clutch assembly, done for us by our good friend Elliot Stringer, and then balanced, tested, set up by AC Dodge. So this is what we're going to be using in our supercharged build, and it is certainly what I'm going to be steering the customer towards with the Supercharged Engine rebuild that we're going to be taking care of. So that's what it looks like. There's an awful lot of work goes into one of these. It means butchering 2 clutches to make one. They are not cheap, but the work that goes into them makes them excellent value for money when you consider what they're going to be doing. And this is, again, a billet flywheel. This is a non-MPI one. These are AC Dodge balancing marks, so this is now all perfectly in balance. And as you can see, we've got low profile, high tensile bolts absolutely everywhere. Both retaining the boss, retaining the clutch diaphragm itself, which again, as you can see, low profile, all low profile bolts used, no issue with that whatsoever. So a little overview of the RTS clutch assembly for you, and this will be used with the Helix clutch plate as well. So there we go, a little overview of some of the bits and pieces we've got going on again. You may have noticed in the background we've got our mill finally. Very pleased with that. This has been in storage for a long time. We finally got it out. I did massively misjudge the size of this thing, if I'm perfectly honest, but it works a treat there. That's absolutely fine. What we are going to do, before any of you say you can't be doing machining there if you're building engines by there, we're actually going to put in a stud wall across this area here. So this area will be shielded off completely as a clean area. This area then will be continue with the dirty area. We will also end up then with a bit more room in here because, as some of you might have noticed, we have a white elephant in the corner. That should not be there. That is a very good friend of ours. He's actually going to be best man at my wedding. Doesn't look like at the moment he's going to be turning up in that. Long story short, that was taken on by somebody else for Gary, my mate. They had it for a number of years and really butchered it. I'll pop a photo up in the video just here so you can see what it was like when we actually had that, when we got it rescued. We have now upheld our end of the bargain. It's restored, all the welding's done, it's painted. We've ended up doing new fuel tank, new brake lines, new fuel lines, stripped all the rear axle, rebushed that, put all that back together. We've done a sunroof delete on it as well. As you can see, it's all been fully painted. However, Gary, said friend, needs to kind of pull his finger out, if I'm honest. He is a busy chap. He's got his own garage. He's got a very young family. He's got high blood pressure. He is a very, very busy chap. He does apparently suffer every now and again with a bout of gout. But I'm not making excuses for him, because somebody's bound to see it in the back of the video and go, that's not a Mini. No, you're dead right, it's not. And it will be a lovely car when it's done. He does get stuck in when he comes up. He just doesn't come up enough, really. But it's not a major issue. We're all about helping the cause. So yeah, that'll be going into the big unit very shortly. So that's it, guys. That's a little update for us. We are cracking on with Project Tom in the background. We've got some footage that I need to edit. We are ready now to refit the rear subframe. Rear subframe's all built, ready to go in. But we're going to get stuck in with that, and we will be doing the follow-up video very soon of refitting the rear subframe. In the meantime, once again, thanks very, very much for all of those of you who have already subscribed. Those of you who haven't, please do. We will now press on with what we've got going on here. In the meantime, look after yourselves and we'll see you soon. Cheers.